YouTube comments from a video titled, Watch the most compelling argument against tech in schools, Sophie Winkleman. Part 1.
Donek, 2318 wrote,
Society took our daily lives away and put them on screens, and now want to critique the screens they created. Bring back local television, locally printed newspapers, etc. We all know that's not going to happen. So I am not buying the screen guilt. Forget about it.
Tanya Rose B7Y wrote,
We don't do phones in our house until age 13. Usually that's about the age when kids might need to text from school about something, or start taking the school bus, going to friends' houses more often, etc. So I feel that's a reasonable age for today's world.
At Matajorvat 817 wrote,
When I go on public transport, everyone is on their phones. You can't even make eye contact with anyone. Everyone is distracted by their phones. I've never had a smartphone, and I never will. I feel like I'm the last of the Mohicans on this planet.
At October Ghost wrote,
Everything starts with you white people. Life has been constructed for money and ideas of what people should live like. Accept the truth. You've been lied to since the beginning of time.
At VickyLove5795 wrote,
As a classroom language arts teacher who was in the classroom as the crossover from analog learning, a proven way to learn everything, to the forced digital and now AI learning, I was an eyewitness to the degradation of the education system. I was literally reprimanded for have 10 minutes every day for students to write paper and pen in a daily journal. I was thereafter warned to follow the program or find another job. My students once wrote poetry from the experience of gathering information from a walkabout the school grounds. Before digital, that was one of my most popular and rewarding for students lessons. By the end of my career, I was no longer allowed to offer even a poetry section to my curriculum. Please push your agenda. We have already lost 2 generations of students. Humanity cannot survive another.
At Peter Heilman 5682 wrote,
You failed to prepare them. All you wanted for them is pleasure and fun for them to be happy. Now in adulthood they are unprepared, weak and dependent, incapable of maintaining the world we have left them.
The Strobsman wrote,
In 33, media made a horrible turn for my generation. Music was hypersexualized, lyrics blatantly raunchy with no metaphors for interpretation. MTV was full of MVS on people grinding on each other, and reality TV where people acted like buffoons. It was no longer appropriate for children, but it was still on cable, and we were still watching it. Most movies made for us were focused on losing your virginity. Sex scenes became normalized, which is weird when you think about how we usually watch films, friends and families. We were the experiment children for the internet as well as social media. Many of us saw real gore BC parents didn't understand just what was valuable on the internet. Divorce was no longer a final option, but a part of normalcy. Many people quit getting married altogether. We were failed in a way many have yet to grasp. I hate seeing boomers say back in my day we played outside. They're literally the only that raises millennials on screens. And their parents didn't BC, they didn't have it, and the world was a bit safer. With companies buying houses instead of people, many don't even have homes and backyards anymore. Neighborhoods are less safe too. It makes sense that we don't know how to parent without screens. We were raised to not be able to function without them. But it's sad we haven't all woken up and collectively rebelled. There's just so much to fix.
At Wild Rosebud Christie wrote,
Myopia started because of classrooms in the first place. The boxing in of children's psyche and executive dysfunction type struggles began before this technology. It's a systematic capitalistic issue rather than a technological one. Putting down the phones won't provide any liberation of choice. Rehousing systems. Independent play without forced rules. One-on-one connections without expectations. Art dance. Feet in the dirt. Will.
At Musician Mura wrote,
I've said for years about the tagline they use in ads about connecting us or bringing us closer together at sea seems to be incorrect. People are more and more distant, aloof, indifferent, intolerant, narcissistic, and self-admiring. And children aren't told no anymore. 7:45, what will Britain do?
Peter Spears wrote,
Sophie's jazz hands learning comment really hit the mark. In my early years as a teacher, I detested hearing phrases like, all the bad teachers work from these boring textbooks, as if the accurately written, professionally illustrated, and meticulously edited books produced by leading experts in their fields were somehow no longer the right way to teach. The implication was that a teacher's own, poorly worded, mistake-ridden PowerPoint with funky animations, cobbled together at 10 p.m. the night before, was a better alternative. I've seen some shockers in my time, and no doubt made the odd mistake myself. Of course, PowerPoints can be excellent, but I worry about the death of the textbook. Students feeling increasingly overwhelmed at university is very well documented.
At Kalen 4787 wrote,
At 240, this is precisely the opposite of what we thought about smartphones when we released them into the consumer markets. We thought omgi. If I had the internet in my pocket always accessible to me when I was 14, 15, and 16, I'd be such a better version of myself by now that I can't even fathom how good I could have been. When we made the judgment call, it was to hypothetically airdrop the technology onto versions of ourselves who had had to devise intellectual strategies and tactics without having them that they would have greatly boosted through automation. The key insight is that if there aren't well-defined, core personal processes at play, if you don't know enough about yourself to know how it is that you analyze and synthesize new information, automatic information acquisition becomes a crutch you lean on, and it eventually proverbially makes you walk like a cripple.
At Joseph Busick 975 wrote,
We don't like children in this country. We allow kids to be shot and killed when they go to school. We allow ICE to handcuff children. We allow children to be separated from their parents. We allow sex offenders to recruiters rape and kill children with impunity. Tell me we like children in this country. Convince me.
At JJQP6JW wrote,
Parents are drugging their children with technology. This should be considered child abuse. It's so sad. They might as well give their children cigarettes, alcohol, and heroin at 5 years old. Screens addictive cause neurological problems, emotional problems, and eventually physical problems, self-harm, and suicide. They use screens to distract their children so they don't have to parent. Why not be a real parent? Our society is so sick letting children become addicts.
As Stevie59 wrote,
Have been in a hotel restaurant. Watch a family of 4 come in and sit down. iPad in front of each child in a rubber case to keep it safe. Both extracted their phones. Breakfast eventually chosen and delivered from the buffet. Yet no one really spoke. Eyes on the screens. So sad.
Schmack VG8 wrote,
The tech corporate elite love their absolute control over ALL humanity. The problem isn't just kids. Our corporate rulers actually created a global scam where 98% of humanity buys and rebuys their fascist police state products. They get free advertising in films, video games, music videos, and social media. They've already created a fascist techno-state that requires us all to use their technology for our daily functioning. We're being forced to use this police state tech to communicate through email, to buy crap, and to pay our bills. Cash is being outlawed not by legislation, but because our corporate rulers demand it. The tech corporations have decided for us how our society will function. We have no choice. The whole idea is to abolish choice while brainwashing people to believe they're free. Despite being warned by Orwell and 1,000s of others, the police state is here. And corrupt politicians and brainless, gullible, foolish consumers stood by and let it happen.
David Irvingpa wrote,
I did not allow my son to have a phone until he started driving, and didn't allow him a computer until he went to undergrad. Because children need engagement with the world and each other. Instead, he learned to play a violin, cello, guitar, reading and writing, and to play outside. I also restricted television and disallowed video games. And now he's learned and able to think for himself.
At LoadRum 479 wrote,
College kids aren't much better than middle/high schoolers. They can't interpret text, hold a coherent argument, or articulate a thorough conversation. Next to none of them read for pleasure or for depth. My local library possessed The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, an extremely famous fantasy classic, for 8 years, and I was the first person to ever check it out. It blew my mind. I am now a huge fan of the Kingkiller Chronicles.
At Murdem7777 wrote,
Don't use the phone or fly in airplanes either? How about just ensuring variety for children? Parents, get off phones and play with your kids. Tech isn't to blame for poor socialization. Oligarchs and parents are to blame.
At Sandaramkasoon 2638 wrote,
As a retired teacher, I totally agree with you. My children are all grown now and am blessed with my first grandchild. I will do all within my power to encourage old school teaching for him because, in my opinion, that is the way forward for children today.
At Mag007 Full wrote,
I'm 64. I remember going to cinema to watch Technicolor movies. It was great just once in a while. Then came the TV. Often it was on at 3 or 4 p.m. Kids' programs were 10 minutes long. I remember watching Dad Always Right. No one would ever try to complain about not having TV shows on afternoon. Every kid was playing outside, on the bike, or so. It was another time. Feels like centuries.
Kaz62 wrote,
The best XP is when you go up the escalators on London Underground and people just stop on the top stair to look at their phone. People are so unaware of what is happening around them that a crazed axe murderer could just take all of them out in 5 minutes. People are too busy looking at their phones, just walking and meandering in front of you like zombies. She forgot to mention the dog walkers that walk along looking at their phone, while the dog is just like practically walking in the road in front of a car. I mean, there is something wrong with this addiction to these gadgets that have obviously been designed to seduce people. At the 5G, the 4G, the 6G that's coming must be controlling the brain. Not only that, as somebody works in the NHS, I have never seen so many people getting brain tumors. young people. I work pre and post COVID, and the nanotech in the COVID jabs, I am convinced is communicating with 5G phones, that people are beaming straight into their brains through iPod ears and headphones, wireless headphones, every day. I have sat and watched people looking at their phones on the tube that used to be a wireless-free method of transport. If you look at their faces, they are completely seduced or angst-ridden depending on what they're looking at. They are putting themselves under constant stress, which releases stress hormones, keeping people in a stress loop that they can never come out of unless they do something to counteract this. The thing is, with screen cell phone usage, people don't realize they're under the spell of them, are completely seduced and addicted to these gadgets. It is not by accident, it is deliberate, and they wanted to now put microchips in your head. Neuralink. Hack the human brain. Can you imagine what that would be like? Walking around with people that have got these things in their heads. This is where it's going, people. Wake up. Dumb down the kids, control their perception, and brainwash them. There is an agenda here that she's not talking about, and it is about the control of human perception and the control of human behavior, and this is how it is being done through the phones, through the screens, internet, social media. They are taking away people's ability to critically think or question any narrative that is pumped out into us by these puppets in high office. Basically, it is not a good future for younger generations. Those of us in our 60s, we can remember growing up without a computer. We are the last stand. Generations coming up behind will be hacked. It's not just the screens anymore, it's the nanotech that communicate with the screen through the brain. It is extremely dark, this agenda, and not at all transparent.
Casper Chartle wrote,
I can't help thinking about if it's even possible to perceive the internet and social media as good or bad, if they have existed your entire life. I guess it would be similar to asking me if television is good or bad.
As Simon Hill 7140 wrote,
A friend of mine was recently teaching in a school in the UK. The children don't have any textbooks. It's all on their iPads, and the teacher constantly uses overhead projectors.
Essos Matija wrote,
Just wanted to point out that while it would be great to give children a wonderful childhood and a well-developed brain, it nonetheless leads to, in most cases, staring at a screen for 8 hours a day from the day they finish school until retirement.
Tracy Z9I1H wrote,
I loathe this. I had always intended to homeschool my kids for various strange things in the school system. As years went on, it ended up being a blend of things. But the worst experience we have had has been online learning. Our private school switched during 2020 and did everything with Google Classroom. I don't think they learned much at all. Stupid little projects, because it was online and not in person. My oldest son looks at his college experience, in which you are forced to have a blend of online and in person, and easily thinks that things are much harder with online learning. He wishes none of it were there. That's pretty telling.
And Morton Thorpe wrote,
The brazen truth is that children without prejudices, imaginations intact, have been subject to easily fascinated adults, who have long lost those two-child capacities. Adult fascination of IT applied to children unchecked for too long.
A Dryfruck wrote,
There's a statistic that increased by 40%. In the state of New Subjects Australia alone, there was almost 3,000 cases of children sexually assaulting other children in 1 year. Experts are saying that this statistic has gone up because children have access to adult content so easily. Imagine where the future is going. Let that sink in.
A Jave9779 wrote,
I grew up before the internet. There are things I loved. I very much disliked school. The analog method could only take me so far. I was able to get glimpses of the future when we got access to computers. I could see the potential. Now I see what I missed. The libraries I poured through as a child were no match for the access to information I now have. The thing we need is how to balance, not remove. We should learn to recognize if a child is struggling from either too much or too little. It isn't a one-size-fits-all solution.
A common European starling wrote,
The best thing I have seen on YouTube all week. I work in a school in which all the kids have iPads. Well, I don't mind the odd game of Kahoot. At the end of the class, more than often they just act as a distraction to what is happening. If they don't get to use their iPads, they get annoyed. In terms of educational apps, I think about my own learning with Duolingo. I really feel that the gamification of the app actually distracts you, and I wonder how much language I really retain with its nonsensical sentences. In the classroom, I have used Kahoot to revise a grammatical point. They may get the answers right on screen, but in terms of understanding, their test results show otherwise. I'm not totally against tech in the classroom, but the way in which kids are becoming dependent on it is worrying. Thanks again for this table.
Estella6516 wrote,
I'm a substitute teacher, started last year. The schools are insane. Having not been in a public school since the mid-90s, I was shocked. Children are out of control, disrespectful, unproductive, and many are not learning anything.
It's very sad.
As Steve Fowler 2112 wrote,
It really isn't rocket science. All you have to know is that in 1968, America led the world in SAT scores. Before the Department of Education kicked in effective 1969, and we used chalkboards and the occasional film as the only teacher media aids, and the students' tech devices were pencils and books. Just revert back and watch SAT scores go through the roof. A Georgia Tech grad, degreed aerospace engineer, who recently retired from a large American defense contractor's missile systems company and who scored a perfect 2400 on my SATs in 1974.
At Mad Scientist Lab 1 wrote,
First of all, most schools have banned phones in class and assigned tablets to all the kids to do their work. Tech is advancing. People need to learn to cope. Pretty soon that cell phone will be inside everyone. What then?
A Derek Doig 9112 wrote,
Homework all done on MS Teams, a confusing array of logins, pages, links, comments, and a multitude of other distractions. I went to help my child with homework and couldn't even type the answers in. Spent the next 45 minutes trying to figure out how to even answer the questions and gave up. You need a qualification in IT to even do a bit of homework that could have been done on a worksheet with a pen, paper, and some brain power. It's all nonsense and not a change for the better.
Adan L2Y2R wrote,
What have we done to our children? We've destroyed them and America's future, which they are. Congratulations. You chose extinction. Now you only have to wait a few more years.
At Haradashinoy 8334 wrote,
There was a time a century ago when the family was the center, no social media, man toiled in the farm, women managed home. In the world of DEI, don't expect anything else. Some years back, I read about a woman who decided to become 24 hours mother to children because she missed her mother at home during her own childhood.
At Curryfam Schooling 4166 wrote,
Parents should set the example. If the parents are glued to their screens, the kids will be glued to their screens. When you set aside time with your kids every day, you are building memories together and less screen time as a result. My daughter loves spending time together rather than being on her iPad. If you make time for them, there will be less screen time. Building life skills with them like cooking, baking, cleaning, organizing, etc.
At Ian French 5014 wrote,
Technology is attractive and addictive. Who would actively give their children and family life threatening drugs and alcohol in copious amounts. But this is what we are doing. We must educate the parents, the government, and children so that we don't sleepwalk into a future which is not of our own making.
At Aaron8977 wrote,
As a 29-year-old that went from overhead projectors and paper to smart boards and personal laptops for each student, and also is a teacher now, technology is killing our new generation. There's very little we can do about it. Tech just continues to take over. In college, I abandoned my laptop for doing any type of real note-taking, and it all became so much easier again.
At Mitchell Mondragon 2400 wrote,
Google is the death of critical thinking. Why learn or retain anything when you can just Google any question? Our children are not being taught or even encouraged to learn how to think.
At Davichup wrote,
What a brilliant presentation. She needs to get this presented by someone working class, so the ideas are not dismissed for being posh with the educational privilege that comes with it. Efficiencies need to be found to save money when the country is skint, and that applies to education as well. I can see a lot of these brilliant points being combated with questions over money. 30 iPads costs a lot less than $32K and endless stationary costs. I agree with everything she is saying, it just needs developing further with real-world numbers, so governments and big tech lobbies can't wiggle out of it.
At Ed209V6 wrote,
Let's not forget wages that never go up, homes too expensive, food too expensive, clothes, cars, medical needs, etc., etc. This isn't just a phone problem. It's the fact that the world has been gifted to the wealthy with nice ribbons and balloons.
At MattBritton6816 wrote,
This young lady's accent tells that she is from a privileged background. Nanny, access to stimulating and confidence-building activities, well-funded school will develop well-balanced people, like the royal family, for example.
At Adirono wrote,
This goes to show just how education managed to stay stuck for 300 years now. The culture is so scared of change that it has become self-fulfilling. Any change will be implemented in the worst possible way, and when that change shows its flaws, that's taken as the reason to undo everything again.
At Doreen Gilman wrote,
Baby boomer here. We will not be able to quantify the damage to our society, especially our children. I have taught for over 40 years, and I can testify that there is a scary change in my 8 to 12-year-old students. But who at the corridors of power is listening?
At Rooksershake 7158 wrote,
Australia has already taken initiative to brainstorm and take initiative to protect future knowledge creators from technology disruption. Young mind development needs holistic view, and that is through thinking by themselves and exploring the world.
At Beef Supreme VK9SC wrote,
All this didn't start recently. IT started in the 80s. I am 57, and MY generation has been the test monkeys for all of this shit. Weed and porn and internet, all since 1985, have done nothing but get stronger and more mind-altering. My life has been ruined by the combination and absolute addiction to all three. I send my son a text often, saying not to look at porn, seeing it's accessible on his phone that HES had since 6 YRS old. Why is the porn that was illegal in the 90s the main thing on any porn site? Why are there no morals anymore?
FanFam wrote,
Besides the message, she is a beautiful woman and seems to be one of the last with actual elegance. But it's not about the children. It's about control, to prevent us from communicating with each other, all under the disguise of safety of our children. They made the problem and now come with the solution that suits them very well.
Tina Beck W5R wrote,
Why put this on schools? Tech has allowed exposure to materials and info that taxpayers refuse to pay for? How about putting this back on parents where it is deserved? Parents are the problem, not school and not tech. Parents not parenting because they are also addicted to devices and social media. School should have tech, but it is not needed at home most days. This is why our country is stupid. Parents care more about games and socializing than education. Stop the tech at home and allow it in schools. If kids can't control their screens, parents are to blame. Stupid citizens elect stupid officials, as evidenced by the current administration. Sick of parents bashing schools when they are the problem.
At Computer Music 7 wrote,
Storm in a teacup. Let technology advance. She's just trying to control every kid's right to free speech. Bad eyesight is probably bad diet and staying indoors too much. Less infrared light. So let's change the bulbs and food, then let kids stay on their phone as long as they want.
At Truthist These Days wrote,
It's interesting how experts and studies are needed to develop these conclusions. Am a total idiot, and for $50, I could have told them the disasters of screen time. Any idiot knows this. I should go get a degree so I can understand these experts.
At Stephen Mason 5682 wrote,
I have a 3-year-old female dog who literally puts her paw on my tablet screen pad to grab my attention. If a dog knows I'm ignoring her needs, it's little wonder our family, friends, and kids do the same. The problems lie within us.
At 3:49 AMS wrote,
As an educator through the 80s to 2019, I have seen the destructive use of technology in classrooms. I had firsthand feedback from my class stating that they understood better when I used traditional teaching methods. They were unimpressed with the use of animation to explain. Management, as usual, turned a deaf ear to teachers' recommendations. Tech companies spent money pushing false narratives to further their business. And our children were turned into guinea pigs. Education departments in the governments are filled with bureaucrats, not educators. The final outcome is destruction of young minds/lives.
At Bill Marshall 2536 wrote,
Good luck getting American parents to actual doing their jobs as parents and take away a cell phone from their child. Heck, the parents are as addicted to their phones as the children are. I see a lot of 30, 40, and 50-year-olds driving on the highway with a cell phone in their hand or on a mount watching videos while driving. It's crazy.
At Budget Scarper 5353 wrote,
Question. Could it simply be governments conservative in labor simply do not want the general population educated? As once they become educated, the general public can see the hypocrisy of these governments. The funny part, if you can call it funny, these so called politicians can afford to send their children to the best schools because they simply can afford wages paid for by taxes. And denying the average working class children access simply cannot afford to. All the while financing the EU ideology, even though the referendum held, voted for Brexit, the Great Reset, which included mass importation of illegal immigrant at the expense of the working class taxation.
At Breezy Briab wrote,
It is infuriating how kids have to submit their homework online now and often do not even have access to textbooks but have to use Google Sheets. We school the old-fashioned way at our house. Paper, pencil textbook, workbooks with a very occasional pre-approved by mom or dad YouTube video to explain a difficult MAR concept.
At Katie32084 wrote,
I will never regret the choice to homeschool my children. I started when it wasn't as big back in 2018. Then COVID happened and it soared. Now we have AI and all the things happening and it's still soaring. Their kid Bibles will be under their noses and in their hands as long as we have them in our home. My daughter is 12 and has no desire for a phone, thank God. We limit computer, TV, and video games. We are close to doing a TV fast just to reconnect and spend more time in nature and books. I love that my childhood didn't have all these phones. But there was lots of TV. We can turn the tide. Stay strong, parents and grandparents. Watch or read Little House on the Prairie. It will warm your hearts.
Tennis 1212 wrote,
I agree with some things, but not all. I was able to get my GCSE in mathematics thanks to the internet, not thanks to school. I learned English thanks to my phone and YouTube. No thanks to expensive books or academies. Not all schools and colleges have a good teacher. No, everyone can afford it. A phone is a great tool as long as you use it for learning, not for watching nonsense. I am completely grateful to technology, and thanks to it, I am watching your speech.
Kukentubin 8610 wrote,
The more they are in schools, the more schooled of no success they are. Schools educate them to believe getting a job nothing more. Nothing. They are doomed.
At Globalist 1990 wrote,
Your body, use it or lose it. Plasticity, we build ourselves through experience. We need practice, repetition to improve at anything. There's no shortcuts. You can't download skills. Are you waiting to become a cyborg, is it? Let someone else make that breakthrough. Getting AI in the classroom has to be the dumbest move I have ever seen. Can it be called school still?
Swartham wrote,
And now they have divided the family so strategically inside of the West, they have made it to where both parents now have to work, and now both parents have to work multiple jobs on top of that. They don't even have time to really see the children that they produce, which works out perfect for them. The ones in power, because now they get to raise your children and they get to be molded into what the system wants. It's disgusting.
Swartham wrote,
What have we done? We have done exactly what they wanted us to do, getting our children prepared for the new way of humanity that will be ushered in within the next 15 years here, especially in the West. Everybody knows they can't even call it a conspiracy theory anymore. The entire world knows and can see it. You're going to have people that go back to tribalistic community ways, and you're going to have people that are fully integrated within those smart cities and things like that. That's a big concern. And the simple fact that over 50% of jobs will be obsolete by 2030 inside of the United States speaks volumes for itself. They're going to try to force everyone onto their new AI world coin system. That's why they are deliberately attacking the United States dollar. There's a reason behind all of this. People are going to fracture inside of the United States. You're going to have people that go back to tribalistic community ways, and you're going to have people that are fully integrated within those smart cities and things like that.
At Julie PB7 Fay wrote,
How did you learn this much content to speak without seeing a paper? Well, I'm curious to know. PLS share I struggle to speak 3 lines without seeing.
At Obama American 48 wrote,
Kids can't think for themselves. I see this in the 20-somethings as well. I'm a licensed therapist and stopped working with anyone under the age of 25 to 30. Not because I don't care about young people, but because talk therapy is impossible with 95% of them. They come to therapy expecting to be told what to think and do. Even closed-ended questions, yes or no, are more than they can answer. They rely on their phones and social media for almost all of their social interactions. If their parents try to take away their phones or limit use, they panic and often state suicidal ideation if they don't get their phone back. Many of the young people who end their lives do so because of this, or because of something on social media or texting.
At Lucy Bernardo 1677 wrote,
It's very true, and I hope we will have more teachers in schools and who will help parents to discipline children and learn respect everything around their surroundings.
At Anthony Tolhurst DW1NC wrote,
Death of pubs. Walk in the remaining pubs, and every arsehole staring at the programmer. Families sitting down at table for any meal, all staring or waiting for next fix of programmer. Unfucking believable. We got our very own Big Bother 1984.
At Monty Vieira wrote,
I think it's called karma. You do bad things to others, something bad comes back on you. Look at the extraction of coltan, which is necessary to smartphones. Look what damage it does to the children and adults working in the mining of it. Look what damage it does to the surrounding environment in East Africa. It's analogous to tobacco. White people brutalized slaves so they could get a nicotine fix. The price was so low, the companies promoting tobacco use helped get tens of millions addicted. One of the effects was increase in lung cancer. People of white European stock today don't care about enslaved children mining coltan any more than they cared about black slaves harvesting tobacco. It's come back on them. They're seeing their own children blighted by smartphone addiction. Justice.
At Rockin' Welder 72 wrote,
It's to let computers control everything and everyone. People are like zombies now walking around, and it's only going to get worse with AI. Unfortunately, there is no going back. This will play a huge part in the end getting here faster.
At BMAR1 Andenley wrote,
Do you think ancient civilizations had this conversation when switching from cave paintings to carvings to papyrus to paper, and now we are repeating it with screens? Evolution is okay. Bro.
At LaSharon 2175 wrote,
Not every parent. My daughter can't turn on my cell phone, much less use it. We have one TV and no pads. She uses my computer once a week for a Zoom call with Nana. So it's entirely possible to not allow kids much screen time.
Peebs Guy wrote,
The power-hungry, ultra-wealthy would like nothing more than a stupid, obedient population. In response, I am teaching every person I can how the billionaire class rigs the system. Also, how we really have a one-party system constantly at work to siphon tax dollars and delegitimize our constitutional rights, all under the guise of having choice.
At Chifo 22 wrote,
Screens in our pockets, screens in our cars, and in our homes. Can't wait for the Google AI glasses to be worn by the masses, using us as slaves to mine and record everything. Everywhere. Imagine a boot stamping on the face of humanity. Forever. Can't remember who said it or if those were the exact words, but you get the picture.
Acetech B1V wrote,
She's worried because children in future will be aware of genocide in Gaza and wants such talks as push to restrict common people from getting enlightened and be subjects to the bankers always.
At Blunt Society wrote,
Quick dopamine hits that are naturally attainable are available now, and that stimulation desensitizes young minds and older minds alike to the point of brain rot. Over-dependent on sloppy, quick dopamine hit content that does nothing for your spiritual or cognitive growth.
And Mark Favell wrote,
Screens are doing nothing compared to SA2 rupees, but since 2019 to 2020, when scores really deviated from baseline, U.S. students have seen some of the largest drops in academic performance on record. Average math and reading scores fell 5 to 8 points in just a couple of years, several times faster than the typical 1 to 2 points per year. The decline affected multiple grades simultaneously, from 4th through 12th, which is unusual compared with past trends. Proficiency rates also dropped sharply. For example, only about 22% of 12th graders are now proficient in math. Screen time isn't the main reason. Maybe the content matters, but screen time alone doesn't explain what's happened over the last 7 years. School closures, not lockdowns, and funding gaps also played a big role. This alone doesn't prove it, but the evidence is accumulating. Since COVID-19 mitigations were only lifted a few years ago, we 100 haven't seen the full effects yet. www.nature.com to 024 to 55,597 to 2. Just wait until all of this is properly proven right now. Everyone's acting like an ostrich with their head in the sand and in denial. www.scientificamerican.com COVID is harming too many kids / time will prove much of this and even more to be correct. Just watch.
At Chris King 6695 wrote,
I have a 3-year-old and what she say is exactly what I see. I knew letters and numbers at his age. I read books with my mom. I played outside so much. I played with my toys and imagined worlds I could explore with my toys. My son, on the other hand, seems like an empty vessel that needs to watch shorts to feel fulfilled. And my entire family allows it. And when I go in between, I'm being called rude. It's even gotten to the point where my son told me he doesn't love me or his mommy because life with grandma is more fun. BC, she lets him have the phone and watch hours of TV.
At Bethany Sawatsky 3765 wrote,
Grad student here working on a dissertation related to literacy. Can anybody provide the specific research citation she's referring to in the line text has now been clinically proven to be more profoundly absorbed from a page in a book. And handwriting installs learned information into the brain much more effectively. Please and thank you.
Eselican 469 wrote,
Wow, you have some gaze, lady. With some small glance you have wholly captured the boys and girls match-up profiles. I wonder, at some point has this so-called, totally true and frank anecdotes from a recent date became a mandatory content as an introductory of a presentation. Maybe I should make a speech about this one and start as like I have watched some Sophie Winkleman presentation and she shared such an anecdote. Do actually you know anything about those two, them being siblings or not? You have to shape the all-unknowns, which are pretty much the whole thing, to match to your narration, are you not? I am not against your general message, but I do not enjoy fabricated stories to use as arguments. Note, I searched this lady, she turned out to an English actress. Well, I wish Ricky Gravies to repeat the message he gave to the Hollywood in his Academy Award hostings to the English actors / actresses as well.
D4T-Bread wrote,
Technology is undeniably the future. We need tech in schools to prepare kids for what is in the real world, not some made-up fantasy on how we are all gonna put down technology and sing a happy song.
A Sun Cycle, Studio 55 wrote,
The devices give humans an excuse not to overcome that first moment of awkwardness and initiate a conversation. People used to talk at bus stops, on the train, in the doctor's surgery. When I look around at rooms full of people avoiding eye contact and entrained in their devices, it feels like I might as well be looking at an asylum common room.
At Melborgia 5152 wrote,
That's what the controllers of this planet wanted, really. The entire system. They vaccinated the children to keep them dumb.
so that they can't fight the corrupt manipulate system, so that the elites are the only ones who are in power and not the next generation.
At Nilo Santos 4862 wrote,
Congratulations, Brazilian's teacher, the multilateralism is now in classes. The children's learning process are not in the age they have in life, neither the relatives teach at home. The Google have many mistaken informations no one validate as like Britannic Encyclopedia. No media company require university from influencer on YouTube. The schools abandon books in technical books. The teenagers don't think and be able to get job, but be accepted in a media group. The school must divide time for sport manual activity LCD works in computers or sells mobile so on. Read book priority of relations importances.
At Dave 4 now wrote,
Strangely, to view this, you have to use a smartphone or computer. Access to the truth is also being subdued. I talk to my child about the blue light, and he just plays it off. It's as habitual as anything else. Sometimes being strict only ends up seeing them build an addiction as an adult. These things truly are from the devil.
At Lyra Foses for Life wrote,
Daylight ordered. NO hiding places 2026 Sir Lyra Fox masks rot when daylight hits every whisper leaves receipts. You thought shadows were a throne, nah, they're just rooms you borrowed alone, no blades swung, no blood spilled. Just names undone by what they built, screenshots, timestamps, paper trails, every lie you sold derails pedophile. Rings hide in suits, preach clean mouths, with rotten roots sanctified by logos brands while kids paid the tax. You planned, you weaponized silence, shame NDAs like holy chains, bought protection, bought delay, but truth compounds interest daily, no street wars, no vigil rage, just subpoenas center stage, hard drives talk when power fades, backups sing from every age you hid behind philanthropy, charity, washed atrocity, smile cameras, gala wine. While monsters ate the timeline, influence farms spin the fog, botnets praise you, play the god, but when the ledger flips to facts, all your avatars collapse. Empty bags of evidence, emails, flights, coincidence maps that match the manifest patterns, scream what mouths suppressed, no more alleged. When math aligns, routes repeat. Across the line, same handlers, same hotel keys, same shell funds, same fees you paid, priests, pundits, mods, and cops to stall the clock to stop the stops. But justice isn't fast or loud, it's patient steel, it doesn't bow. I don't call for harm or chase, I call for courts and daylight space, I call for kids to be believed for stolen years to be retrieved. Your shield was culture cloud, and cash your weakness truth that doesn't splash, it drips. Steady eats the stone till every throne is overthrown. No memes save you, no trend, no moving on, no sudden end. Accountability is due, not cancel storms, but trials. Two open books, open doors, search warrants flood the floors. When archives unlock their breath, every lie signs its own death. This is how the monsters fall, not to mobs, not to brawls, they fall when truth stands tall and calm and law remembers who was harmed. So watch the exits light up red as silence breaks and deals are dead. No hiding left, no sacred space. Daylight audits every face I holster. Nothing but the facts, ink and time and paper stacks. All weapons out the bag means this evidence persistence. Lists protect the children's center frame. No more games, no more names, just justice done the boring way that lasts when outrage fades away.
At Josh Disher wrote,
I quit Facebook, Instagram and X in October of 2023, and by summer 2024 I no longer had panic attacks or need benzos to cope with them. Social media literally broke my brain, and it didn't fix itself until I stepped away.
At Teach Life wrote,
about cell phones. My wife and I plan to never buy a cell phone for our children nor allow them to have one. We may have an extra one available for special trips for safety, but there is no reason a young person truly needs a cell phone. Think parents, Was our life so unsafe when we grew up without one? They need to call home from school. Go to the office and have the staff call. If they need to come home from school, the staff must be informed anyway, or nurse. Seriously, parents, stop pressing the easy button, as Office Depot commercials say. Our children deserve better.
A Teach Life wrote,
If I may comment on Ms. Winkleman's eloquent speech to clearly an encouraging audience. As an international educator and father of 3 young children, I completely agree there is far too much screen time going on, but 95% of that screen time is at home from my experience. I cannot speak to the leaning in of UK or US schools, especially in the secondary level of education. However, my previous American curriculum school, a primary school, had 40 minutes of ICT learning tech skills and 20 to 30 minutes a day of math-guided practice on screens using Zern Math. Yes, we used devices to write assignments and research projects at the 3rd grade and above, but all of these uses were to use the tech as a tool, not an entertainment or teaching replacement. I purposely taught outside and leaned in on reading books in class, but not as much as I would have liked because the curriculum was so packed, not with tech, but with other lessons. I think Miss Winkleman is leaning too far into taking tech out of the classrooms. It should only be used as a tool to enhance learning, not replace it. Just like a chalkboard to dry erase board to a projector. No one wants to face the elephant in the room of a lack of parenting. Those statistics are rooted in those vast majority of parents which do not regulate their children, do not limit it. The behavior problems are rooted there, a neglect of parenting, not only in keeping kids off screens, but spending time with their kids. These problems come into the classroom. I agree, leaning into I so early is not wise. However, we need to teach differently at the secondary. We can't just ignore that students will use I at home to complete fact-based assignments. We need to change the assignment to show process and critical thought rather than returning facts which can be done in minutes with an AI. Consider moderation in all things. In conclusion, at the elementary level, a healthy number of hours using a device to enhance learning is most effective, like homework time. Commission studies to make informed decisions. This is a new era of childhood development we need to pay attention to.
At the testimonial wrote,
Me and another parent met with a school about our son's failing English because the teacher only did lessons online, and we chose to keep our sons offline. The principal informed us that the military was pushing fully digital curriculum and were experimenting on our kids. As it turns out, abandoning books and paper has caused a significant decrease in student success, but the government does not care to listen to us. So, our sons were both failed in spite of a desire to learn. All for the convenience and ease of a single teacher. So, in spite of parent and teacher efforts, the US has forced everyone into tech at school and home. Reason? Profits.
as Sarah Snow wrote,
I've never owned one of these ridiculous devices, and don't intend to, despite society corporations, actually, trying to brainwash me, and making it increasingly difficult not to have one. Somehow I'm not crazy about paying a sinister corporation big bucks every month to keep me under constant surveillance and sell my personal data to other sinister corporations. All so I can be at the whims of the world 24/7 and persecute my friends and family with pictures of my breakfast, my cat, and my cat's breakfast. People are such dupes. The tail's wagging the dog, and people are infatuated with the means while forgetting about the ends. When I'm with my friends and family, they get my full attention, unmolested by intrusive ringtones. I never have to say, "Oh, I just have to take this." Smartphones, not smart.
At Alan Atfield 7174 wrote,
I heard on the radio that children preferred audiobooks rather than learning to read. Children who can't write a paragraph, who tap a book thinking it was a computer rather than opening the covers. When I was a child, I was out playing, not stuck in the bedroom on a phone. I was in a computer shop years ago when I witnessed a mother buying loads of computer games for her children because it kept them quiet while she was on her phone. Her words, "This isn't the children's fault, but we have allowed the overuse of tech in the home and classroom."
At Mike Barrett 691 wrote,
So, how does society react to this worrying threat imposed on coming generations? It must find solutions and put into law. No pussyfooting but strong returns to what childhood means. Adults know but seem reluctant themselves to invoke. Let's hope governments will do the right thing for the health and well-being of our children.
At Irving Howe 85643 wrote,
Everyone agrees on the problem. No one has any clue about the solution. I teach Ukrainian teenage kids computer programming for free twice per week online. There we embrace AI as real-world programmers do. Regarding younger kids, I'm just as confused as the rest of you.
At Carta Blanche Bamaria 4106 wrote,
Being a teacher myself, I totally agree with what she said. We are driving towards EdTech. We are progressing towards illiteracy, turning a whole generation who would only know about prompts to be fed into ChatGPT or DeepSeek.
At Lord Kegels wrote,
I'm from Australia, and what you spoke about the under 16 issue has nothing to do with it. It's identified those in the non-analog world, everybody over the age of 16, to verify before they get onto the internet.
At Night Raven 2255 wrote,
I don't have children yet, but I do strongly support this message. Whenever my future children will come, as a mom, I will do my absolute best to limit screen time and engage with them in learning new things, like from books, etc. I'm currently a university student, and also I feel fed up working from my laptop constantly and lectures being online. I want to go back to textbooks, pen, paper, people actually engaging in the lectures, and not dozing off or being elsewhere in the lecture hall.
At Avishag_Lily wrote,
I loved this video. And really, I remember one time telling my mom I'm bored. And after just trying things around the house, like playing with pots and inventing things.
At Liventhalite 796 wrote,
My daughter has unlimited screen time. She is in a singing club, a choir she chose these, enjoys school maths, plays guitar, cooks. I do have to coax her off it now and again, but there is no way I will forbid it. This is guaranteeing other trouble. Adults will use it way too much to escape reality. Online games are very educational, but I hate the social media doom scroll. Kids were born into this environment with readiness, just like we were when we were little. Or did your mum force you to play with wooden toys when there was Lego and Game Boys?
Tim Engel wrote,
This lady is perfect. She's beautiful, intelligent, and has the ability to observe societal trends, and has the courage to stand up and display her critical thinking skills. Thanks to people like her, things might change for the better.
At Landrover Videos 1182 wrote,
This lady spoke for 20 minutes without referring to notes. Her head scanning the audience left to right, which points to she ain't reading a screen. No ASMS. How can someone achieve such perfection, or am I missing something?
Adiel DG5VT wrote,
Teachers, surely we mean feminists and activists. Men have been essentially outlawed in education. Over 70% of teachers and admin in Australia are women. Equality. Right, and don't forget that everything online has been poisoned by incessant advertising. The experience is borderline unusable.
Janisic 150 wrote,
World also doesn't know 5G is a brain-damaging technology. That will lead to mental instability, mental health issues. Actually, to divorces because people will become irrational, government will become irrational, new cancers will show up, and doctors will be unable to determine where they came from. Also, 5G takes 4 times more energy, making life ever more expensive. 4G was already too much for cell phone usage. Most people don't need 5G, but they have no choice.